Have you ever wondered what a single act of kindness could reveal? Hey, sweetheart, are you okay? His voice was soft, an unfamiliar tone for a man whose words usually closed deals and crushed competitors. But what caught Caldwell's attention wasn't the dirt on her shoes or the hunger in her movements. It was the necklace she wore, a thin silver chain with a tiny heart-shaped locket. His heart lurched. That locket, he had given one just like it 18 years ago to a young woman named Naomi, a beautiful black woman he had loved when he was just a college student with empty pockets and foolish dreams. Could this be more than a coincidence? Stay tuned, BUP Stories has a twist you won't believe. But the world had stepped in, family expectations, prejudice, cowardice. He let her go, though his heart had never truly recovered. He stepped closer. "What's your name?" The girl looked up, cautious, but unafraid. Her eyes were wide and wise in a way children's eyes shouldn't be. "Maya," she said. "Maya Williams." Caldwell's breath caught. Williams. That had been Naomi's last name, too. "What are you doing out here, Maya?" She didn't flinch. "Looking for food. My sister and I haven't eaten since yesterday. Mom's too sick to get up." "Where's your dad?" Maya shrugged. "Don't have one. Never did." He knelt beside her, eyes searching hers. "Do you live nearby? Under the bridge?" she said, nodding toward the east, near the old train yard. "I'll give you a ride. I'll make sure your family's safe tonight." She hesitated. "You don't have to. I want to." He stood, signaling to his driver, who waited in a sleek black SUV nearby. Moments later, they were driving through the dim, icy streets, Maya sitting quietly in the back seat, clutching a paper napkin he'd handed her as if it were made of silk. Wait, could this billionaire's past hold the key to this family's future? Don't miss what happens next. BUP Stories is about to take you on an emotional journey. When they reached the underpass, Caldwell got out with her. The air was colder here, harsher, the concrete echoing each footstep. Makeshift tents lined the shadows. The flicker of a barrel fire reflected off cracked windshields and broken glass. Maya led him to a sagging tent of tarpaulin and blankets. Inside, another girl lay curled up beside a frail woman, her breath shallow, her skin damp with sweat. "Mom," Maya whispered. "I brought someone." The woman stirred, her eyes opening slowly. Caldwell froze. Naomi, older, tired, but it was her. His knees buckled slightly. "Naomi," she blinked. "Roland, I didn't know." "I never." Maya said her name and then the necklace and tears welled in Naomi's eyes. "You left. I didn't think I'd ever see you again." Caldwell stepped inside, falling to his knees beside her. "God, I'm sorry. I was young. I was stupid. And I've regretted it every day since." Naomi touched his hand. "I never told you. I was already pregnant when you left. Twins." Caldwell looked at the second girl sleeping, thin but peaceful. She looked just like Maya. "My daughters," his voice broke. He turned to Maya, who stood quietly at the edge of the tent, watching everything with silent understanding. "I want to help," he said, "not out of guilt, out of love, out of something I should have done years ago." Naomi smiled faintly. "Then stay. Just stay." And for the first time in nearly 2 decades, Roland Caldwell knew what he was meant to do. Roland Caldwell didn't sleep that night. After helping Maya and her sister Amamira into the warmth of the SUV, he stayed behind with Naomi, wrapping her frail body in a wool blanket, carefully helping her sit upright. The crackling of the barrel fire mixed with the distant horns of the city. He hadn't held her in nearly 2 decades. And yet it felt so natural, so devastatingly familiar. Inside the tent, the cold was stinging despite the layers of fabric that tried to keep the winter out. Naomi coughed, her breath shallow. "I didn't want you to find out like this." "I should have found you years ago," Roland murmured, his voice. "I should have fought harder for us." Naomi looked away, her eyes tracing the torn edge of the tarp. "You were a rich white boy from Harvard. I was a scholarship girl from Brooklyn with too much pride. I didn't want your pity. It wasn't pity, he said, gently cupping her cheek. I loved you. I know, she whispered, but love wasn't enough back then. Roland helped her into the car next to her daughters. Maya clung to her mother's hand while Amira slept, her head on Naomi's lap. As they pulled away from the underpass, Roland felt a strange stillness settle in his chest. A weight he'd been carrying so long, it had fused to his bones, was beginning to shift. They arrived at a modest boutique hotel he owned discreetly on the Upper West Side. Caldwell had often used it for private retreats, business partners, or family visiting from abroad. Tonight, he would hand over the penthouse suite without a second thought. I want them comfortable, he told the concierge. Doctor on call, fresh linens, hot food. Keep the press out of this. Yes, Mr. Caldwell, the staff replied with quiet efficiency. In the suite, Naomi was laid in bed as a physician examined her. Pneumonia, likely untreated for weeks, maybe longer. The doctor prescribed medication and rest, confident she could recover with warmth and care. Meanwhile, Maya and Amira devoured a tray of food: roast chicken, mashed potatoes, warm rolls with honey butter. Roland watched them from a chair by the window, his heart aching. He saw pieces of himself in them, the tilt of Amira's chin, the stubborn determination in Maya's brow. It wasn't just recognition, it was accountability. Martin, his assistant, arrived with a new set of clothes and paperwork. You missed dinner with the board. I'm aware, Roland said, not looking away from the girls. Should I reschedule your Christmas Day meeting with the city commissioner? Roland turned his expression firm. Cancel everything. Martin raised an eyebrow. Everything? I have something more important to fix. Martin didn't argue. He simply nodded and stepped out of the suite. Naomi stirred, still commanding a room, I see. He smiled sadly. It's all I ever knew. Build empires, sign contracts, but none of it ever felt real. It made you powerful. It made me hollow, he said. Until tonight, she reached out and squeezed his hand. You're not hollow now. Later that night, while the girls slept in their room, Roland sat at the dining table with Naomi. They shared peppermint tea, something the hotel staff had found after Maya mentioned her mother used to drink it to soothe her chest. I still remember that night, Naomi said softly. The night I found out I was pregnant. I wanted to tell you, I picked up the phone, but I couldn't do it. Why? I was scared that I'd ruin your life, that you'd feel trapped or worse, responsible. I would have wanted them, he said. She nodded. I know, but the world we lived in then. It wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. Roland rubbed his face, exhausted but alert. Then let me be ready now. Naomi studied him. You don't owe me anything. He looked at her, fierce and raw. I owe them everything. She didn't respond for a moment. Then she nodded. They're strong girls, but they've never known what it's like to feel safe. They will. Around 3 a.m., Naomi drifted into sleep, her breathing easier. Roland tucked a blanket around her and turned to the girls' room. Maya was awake, watching him from the doorway. Are you my dad? She asked, her voice hushed. He knelt. No, sweetheart, but I'm your father's best memory. She tilted her head, trying to understand. I loved your mom very much, and I should have been there when you came into the world. I can't change that, but I can be here now. Maya looked at him, eyes deep with something older than her years. Will you leave us, too? Roland's throat tightened. He shook his head. Not again. She stepped forward and hugged him. He held her, heart wide open as the snow continued falling outside, blanketing the chaos of the city in soft silence. Roland Caldwell, once ruthless, once guarded, began a new chapter. Not with contracts, but with quiet promises whispered in the dark. Promises to heal, to protect, to stay. The morning sun crept through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse suite, casting golden streaks across the carpet. It was the kind of sunrise that brought promise, warmth after the storm, but for Roland Caldwell, it brought weight. He stood at the kitchenette counter, staring blankly into a steaming cup of black coffee. Behind him, the silence was soft. No phones ringing, no business chatter, just the distant hum of the city coming alive. And yet inside, the noise of memory was deafening. In the next room, Naomi slept peacefully for the first time in weeks, her breathing finally steady. The girls were still curled together under the plush white duvet, their curls tangled like ivy. Roland had checked on them twice already, his heart tightening each time. He never thought he'd be the man tiptoeing in slippers just to make sure two little girls were still breathing. A quiet knock broke the silence. He opened the door to find Martin standing with a stack of files and an unreadable expression. "I told you to cancel everything." "You did," Martin said evenly, stepping inside. "But I thought you should see these." He handed over a manila folder. Roland opened it to find a printed email thread, legal documents, and a newspaper clipping with a headline that made his stomach flip. Caldwell Properties CEO seen with homeless family on Christmas Eve, staged or redemption. "They're already speculating," Martin said. "A couple of reporters followed the car last night. Nothing official yet, but it's only a matter of time." Roland exhaled slowly, the weight pressing harder. "Let them talk." "You realize what this means?" Martin asked. "If word gets out that you've taken in this family, Naomi, the twins, it'll raise questions about the past, about your company, about that old discrimination lawsuit that never made it to court." Roland stiffened. That case. A building he once owned in Brooklyn had refused rental to a single black mother under his name. He hadn't known then, or so he told himself. "I'm not hiding anymore," he said, voice low. Martin studied him. "This isn't just about you anymore." Roland looked away, then back. "That's exactly the point." He turned toward the window, watching the clouds shift. For so many years, he'd curated a life of distance. No family, no attachments. Not since Naomi. And now, 2 daughters. Daughters who barely knew what a safe night felt like. "I want them to have a home," he said. "A real one." Martin nodded slowly. "What should I tell the board?" "Tell them Caldwell Properties is taking a long overdue look in the mirror." Martin didn't press further. He left quietly, leaving the folder on the counter. Roland turned back toward the bedrooms. Naomi would wake soon. And when she did, he had questions. Questions that could change everything. Naomi stirred just after 8. He brought her breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast with marmalade, and hot tea and helped her sit up in bed. She looked better. Color had returned to her cheeks, and the shadow under her eyes had softened. "You didn't have to stay the night," she said, sipping slowly. "I couldn't leave." Naomi looked at him, her gaze measured. "You're not the same boy I used to know." "I hope not," Roland said. "I was a coward back then." She didn't argue. Instead, she asked, "What now?" "I want to help. More than help. I want to be part of their lives." Naomi's expression tightened. "They don't know you. I don't want them hurt." "I get that," he said. "But last night changed something in me. I saw that necklace on Maya, and it felt like a part of me had just snapped back into place." Naomi looked down at her cup. "That was all I had left of you. I gave it to her when she turned 6. I want to make things right." Her eyes met his. "You can't erase what you missed." "I know, but I can show up now." They sat in silence for a moment until Maya appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. "Morning," she mumbled. "Morning, baby," Naomi said, reaching out her hand. Roland smiled. "Sleep okay?" Maya nodded, then looked at Naomi. "Can we stay here forever?" Naomi hesitated. Roland stepped in gently. "You can stay as long as you need. But I was thinking, what if we made a new plan?" Naomi looked at him sharply. "What kind of plan?" "I have a townhouse in Brooklyn. Truncated for brevity, continues similarly with remaining text. Night, Roland and Naomi tucked the girls into bed. One story, one kiss, one whispered good night at a time. As the door closed, Naomi exhaled softly. Do you ever think about where we'll be in 5 years? He glanced up from the flickering candle. I do. Naomi leaned in. Are we going to still be us with them? With this? He took her hand. We are this, and I don't want it to end. Outside, the daisies shone faintly in the night breeze like tiny lanterns guiding the way forward. He kissed her forehead. Then we'll keep planting together. And in the quiet house, in a city that had seen them rise, they let the seeds they'd sown take root, not in headlines or accolades, but in the soft spaces where love quietly blooms. Brooklyn's early summer air settled like a soft blanket over the townhouse, carrying in its warmth the sense of routine transformed into something sacred. Roland and Naomi sat on the front stoop, sipping mint tea from mismatched mugs and watching the world flutter by, family strolling, neighbors chatting, a dog sniffing a flower bed. Maya hopped out the door, her knees scraped from yesterday's antics, clutching a stack of picture books. Dad, can we go to the community garden today? I want to water the tulips. Amamira and Naomi shared a smile. This was the rhythm they'd built, simple, shared, genuine. Roland nodded. Let's go together. They walked past the daisies they'd planted. Each bloom a testament to patience and care. At the center, children and parents from the community gathered. Some tended seedlings. Others exchanged recipes or garden tips. The Layla Williams Center loomed just behind, a slate of red brick and fresh paint humming with purpose. A young mother approached Naomi. Your story? It gave me courage to apply for housing help. I got approved yesterday. Her voice trembled slightly, but her eyes brightened with gratitude. Naomi blinked back tears. That's wonderful. Congratulations. Roland watched the moment from a step back. Every quiet impact mattered more than any headline. Hours later, they returned home with triumphant smiles and a basket of fresh basil, tomatoes, and zucchini from the garden's community harvest. Laughter trailed them as Maya taught Amira a silly rhyme. Grow, grow, veggies make us strong, basil, tomatoes all day long. Naomi set ingredients on the counter, leaning into Roland. We've built something real, she whispered. He smiled. We didn't just build it. We kept it alive. That night, with the windows open to the chirping cicadas, Naomi and Roland lay awake in bed, arms entwined. I'm scared, Naomi admitted quietly. That this calm won't last. Roland turned to her, tracing her collarbone. Storms will come, but we know how to weather them. We face them together. I love you, she breathed. More than I ever knew how, he replied. The next morning dawned with purpose again. The girls had school projects due. Naomi had a design meeting with the foundation architect, and Roland had to negotiate with city officials for the next block's development funds. Yet, even in the bustle, nothing felt forced. At the kitchen table, Maya scribbled a handwritten letter. Dear Community Center, thank you for letting us be part of your family. Amamira added colorful doodles. Roland ruffled Maya's hair. That's beautiful, baby. From the balcony, Naomi paused, inhaling the scent of basil and fresh paint. The world felt more honest than ever, less about show, and more about substance. Later, they gathered for dinner roasted zucchini, tomato basil pasta, a recipe built on shared abundance. The girls chattered about school and friends. Roland asked Naomi about design plans, and she asked about the new funding. Every question answered, every voice heard. After bedtime stories, Roland and Naomi found themselves back on the stoop. This time under a sky full of fireflies. The world's pace a little slower, a little quieter, felt like a gift. Naomi rested her head on his shoulder. We didn't need to conquer the world. We just needed to build ours. He squeezed her hand. Right here. Right now. That's enough. The fireflies blinked around them, tiny lights in the dark. A quiet promise that the truest stories are lived softly, bravely, and from the heart. July's humid breeze drifted through open windows, carrying the scent of magnolia and promise. Summer had settled into the Caldwell home. The garden bloomed. Laughter filled every hall, and change no longer roared, it whispered. Yet for all that beauty, something stirred under the quiet. Change is relentless, even when it's gentle. Early morning light found Roland in his study, sifting through emails with the heavy eyes of a man ready to close something meant to stay closed. Naomi knocked once before entering, carrying a mug of lavender tea. "You've been at that for hours," she said softly, handing him the cup. He took it with a small sigh. "We got word from the school. They want Maya and Amamira to lead a parent-teacher workshop about their family's journey, about resilience and community." Naomi blinked. "For 7th graders, that's huge." "Not for them," he corrected gently. "For everyone else," she stepped closer. "Are you okay with that?" He nodded, eyes distant. "As long as they feel safe. As long as it's not performative," she brushed his shoulder. "Then let's make sure it isn't. Let's help them tell their story in their own words." That afternoon, the girls practiced at the kitchen table. Maya sat upright, voice serious. "So, I don't remember when Daddy wasn't in our lives. I just know he is now, and that matters." Amamira chimed in, tone shy. "And Mommy was always fighting to make sure we had a chance. Even before Daddy came back, they rehearsed imperfectly with giggles and corrections, while Roland and Naomi offered gentle guidance." "You're brave," Naomi said when Maya hesitated. "You're strong," Roland added to Amira. They were more than words. They were roots. At the school auditorium the next evening, the seats filled quickly with parents, teachers, and neighbors. The lights were warm, the air expectant. Naomi squeezed Roland's hand as their daughters walked on stage. Side by side, their childhood Sunday best freshened by hope. Maya spoke first. "When I was younger, our bed was a fire hydrant and a shopping cart. But I still believed in Christmas because Mommy said it was about love." She looked at Amira, "And now I know it's also about truth." Amira's voice trembled slightly. "I used to think Daddy was just a story, but he's real, and real is better than scary." The audience was silent, moved. Compassion bloomed in the hush. Afterward in the hall, parents pulled Naomi aside. A teacher said, "You're shaping something real, Miss Williams. That's stronger than any lesson plan." A mother whispered to Roland, "My daughter used to be scared. Scared of feeling too different. Hearing your girls, she smiled like I haven't seen in months." Naomi and Roland exchanged glances across the glimmering crowd. Their healing had become a seed for others. Later, after tucking the girls into bed, Roland joined Naomi on the porch. Cicadas sang. Fireflies danced around the hydrangeas they had planted in the spring. "You know," Naomi said, voice low, "I used to hate read thin evenings like this, too quiet." Roland wrapped an arm around her. "Now it's our favorite kind." She leaned into him. "We're not done yet. The center needs growth, workshops, more voices." He rested his chin on her head. "We'll plant more seeds." She closed her eyes. Together, always. Down the street, the Layla Williams Center glowed quietly, a beacon of what truth can do when it's grounded in love. And in the stillness, in that steady hum of cicadas and shared breaths, they felt the soft hum of something lasting, and they knew they had found their strength. The late summer dusk draped itself over Brooklyn like a soft blanket, and the Caldwell townhouse glowed warmly beneath its quiet sky. Inside, Maya and Amamira, two sisters who carried both loss and triumph in their laughter, prepared for bed, their chatter ending in sleepy yawns. Naomi sat beside their beds, brushing Maya's curls. Amamira's rabbit tucked under her arm. "Remember," she whispered. "You two are loved in every way there is." Maya reached for Roland's hand just outside the door. He squeezed gently. "Tomorrow's big," he said low, voice tender. Naomi emerged into the hallway, joining them. "Yes," she agreed. "World, get ready to meet our hearts." The next morning dawned bright and clear. Outside the townhouse windows, the trees shivered in sunlight. Inside, the air buzzed with anticipation. Today would be the first annual commemoration at Layla Williams Greenway, marking 1 year since they had unlocked its gates. The family had planned small, simple festivities. A mural painted by neighbors. A story-sharing bench for families to gather. A bench engraved with a quote from Lydia's letter. Let it grow. Roland, dressed casually, walked with the girls holding both their hands. Naomi followed, carrying a tray of iced lemonade cups. As they approached the park, a gentle crowd formed: neighbors, volunteers, families, children clutching chalk for sidewalk art. A mural lay half-painted. Children of all colors joined hands circling a sun. Maya and Amamira added their fingers to different parts of the hue, violet and peach, as their names appeared at the bottom. Maya and Amamira, let it grow. A neighbor, Mr. Ramirez, gave the girls high fives. You've turned this place into magic, he said softly. The girls beamed, shy but proud. Naomi approached the small podium prepared at Center Park. Roland stood beside a small wooden plaque embedded in stone. In honor of Layla Williams, may this place remind us that love grows strongest where light reaches. Roland cleared his throat, voice steady in the morning air. 1 year ago today, we stood here, just us, a promise and a vision. Today, this isn't a promise. This is real. The crowd applauded softly. Naomi stepped forward. This park has become more than ground and grass. It's where children learn that they belong. Where stories find soil, where laughter can echo because we learned to plant roots before wings. They released birds, paper origami cranes tied to strings, letting them dance into the sky. Children giggled as the cranes caught the breeze. The girls watched theirs soar together. Afterwards, families sat on blankets, sharing homemade lemonade and cupcakes baked by local volunteers. Maya danced barefoot on the grass. Amamira twirled, chasing butterflies. Naomi and Roland traded smiles full of quiet joy. Later, Naomi found Lydia's letter resting in her pocket. She showed it to Roland, asked if they should bury it under a sapling here so Lydia's words could grow deeper. He nodded, tearing a patch of earth beside the plaque and placing the letter gently within. They covered it hand in hand, planting a young dogwood atop. That night, the house was filled with gentle exhaustion, double bedtime stories, one for each girl. Their voices drifted up the stairs as Roland and Naomi collapsed onto the couch, sweat and paint still on their clothes. They did beautifully, Naomi whispered, leaning her head on his shoulder. They are strength, he replied. True, tender strength. Naomi smiled, reaching for his hand. We taught them something that will follow them forever. He turned to her. What? That home is where truth lives, and truth gives wings. They sat in silence, lights dimmed, the city's hum soft beneath their windows. In the soft dark with cherry blossoms passed and daisies planted at dawn, the house held all they had built: love, community, truth, and a family learning how to soar. Outside, stars reflected in the sill, tiny lights in the deep night. Their roots were planted, and now their wings were ready. The true heart of this story reminds us that family isn't just built by blood. It's built by love, by choice, and by showing up when it matters most. In a world that often overlooks the voiceless, the forgotten, and the hurting, it is compassion and courage that can break cycles of silence. This story teaches us that justice is not always loud, but it is deeply personal. And sometimes the quiet act of loving, believing in someone, or returning to heal old wounds can build more than homes. It can build legacies, BUP stories.